Now moving on to Africa. So again, hopefully that was just giving you some highlights. This is just going to be brief again and giving you some highlights of this wonderful tour. We actually do just 4 nights on the Chobe River. So it's actually 4 nights on this beautiful ship that we're looking at right here, the Zambezi Queen, designed specifically for wildlife viewing. You can see that every room on here basically has a balcony, is a suite. Built in 2009 and renovated in 2015. She has just 14 staterooms, hosting just 28 guests. So talk about intimate. That's what this is all about. Eco-friendly, uses a water jet propulsion system, fuel-efficient, low-emission generators, and a solar heating system. Also an enclosed air conditioning dining room, lounge and bar, which are up on the top deck, as well as an open-air sun deck complete with plunge pools. So we've got all the luxuries that you need here. This is absolutely the best way to experience this part of the Chobe River. And then just some memorable experiences, right? You're going down there to see the wildlife and experience the culture. In terms of one of the really good times to go, I'd probably say May or June, because around this time of year, a lot of the lakes further out from the river have started to dry up. So the animals, of course, are going to go looking for water. They're going to come down to the river, just like we see here with all the elephants. If you look at the boat that we go out on, right, so these little safari type boats that we go out on, guests can sit at the top. Most guests sit down below, especially if it's a bit warmer. They're going to have that shade up on top. But if you're really into photos and don't want anybody being around, and gives you a little bit more room up on top, there is a restroom on board the ship as well. If you can kind of see that area just beyond where that white cooler is, there's a little restroom right there. Also for guests that may need to use the lavatory. And then that white chest that we see down below, that's going to be holding some wines and beers that we're taking out for guests as well. So on these safaris, you'll be able to enjoy some nice drinks along the way. This picture I included just because it's so amazing. This is actually taken by one of our guests last year who were out on one of those little safari boats here too. So can't speak to that stork and if he's still around here, but just capturing this with the alligator, jaw wide open, and that stork right in the background. I believe it's a stork or an egret maybe. And then of course our Zambezi Queen just off in the distance right behind there too. But I thought that was a beautiful shot. And then continuing with those memorable experiences, other wildlife that you're going to see, of course, are going to be like the giraffes. You're going to see the zebras. This is actually home to one of the, I was going to say one of the largest, but I believe it's actually the largest zebra migration that they kind of did this about 200-mile circuit. So we'll be able to witness some of that as well too. So just an amazing trip, extremely popular too. This is one that I would say if you're interested in doing this, you do not want to book any less than 12 months out to 15 months out, even up to a year and a half in advance. Even with everything happening right now with COVID, this is a popular request and people are booking far out even into 22 at this time. Cape Town, of course, a popular spot right here. We're going to be spending 3 nights at the Cape Grace Hotel. They're going to have this wonderful welcome reception for us with some drinks and appetizers. At the hotel, of course, there's going to be complimentary Wi-Fi. Breakfast will be included daily. We're going to have complimentary private luxury transfers. We're going to also include here a full-day Cape Point tour with seafood lunch, drinks included. There's going to be a stop at a place called Boulders Beach where we can take in some of the African penguins. Cableway up to Table Mountain, a full-day Cape Winelands tour with lunch, or a guided tour of Robben Island, followed by a cultural tour of Cape Town's very diverse neighborhoods with a local lunch included. So that's kind of the overview of what our time in Cape Town is going to include. And here's just a look at the Grace Hotel that we just mentioned. Also beautiful hotel, one of the top hotels in the area. I believe it's it may be like a 4.5 star. I don't believe it's a 5-star, but it's a beautiful hotel. Just look at some of the ratings for it. Another stop, of course, is going to be at the Cape of Good Hope. This is that place where, although it's not actually the most southern tip like a lot of us think of, or maybe been told or just misunderstood, but it is very close to the most southern tip, but a little bit off. But this is that place where when the explorers who were traveling over to Asia knew that when they hit the Cape of Good Hope, they were right about halfway at the halfway point, and their journey was going to be pretty much the same up to that point going forward. So also look Kind of up here, the cable way up to Table Mountain, just taking in some of those spectacular views, and definitely a highlight here. And then Victoria Falls. So one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. 2 nights at the Victoria Falls Hotel that were going to be included. And these, by the way, too, what I'm talking about right here, as well as a stay Cape Good or Cape Hope, as well as Johannesburg. Forgive me if I didn't clarify that. These are going to be those pre or post options that you can add on to that 4-night Chobe cruise, right? Because you're not going to go all the way to Southern Africa just to do a 4-night cruise and turn back home. I mean, you could certainly do that if you want, but these are all these packages, these land options that you can include, extend that all the way out to an 18-day trip if you're adding on some multiple packages to that. So continuing on with this then, if you're going over to Victoria Falls, 2 nights at the Victoria Falls Hotel, again, comp Wi-Fi, breakfast daily is going to be included here, a guided tour of Victoria Falls with we've taken 16 different views from different areas around the falls. We're going to dine at the Victoria Falls Hotel, cocktail reception aboard of this vintage steam train, the Rovo steam train, which is actually going to take us from Johannesburg over to Victoria Falls. Private Zambezi sundowner cruise with drinks and tapas during the onboard entertainment and presentation there too. So lots to look forward to on this. Just a beautiful picture of the Victoria Falls Hotel. If you've ever had a chance to enjoy the luxury rail trip up to the Canadian Rockies, there are some wonderful hotels up there that are now Fairmonts, but these were actually some of the old Canadian Pacific hotels. And the reason that I'm mentioning those is because this has sort of the same history. The Victoria Falls Hotel was actually the rail line that brought in guests to this to promote tourism along the way. Also, beautiful hotel that we get to stay at as well. Here's a look also of that Rovo steam train trip that I mentioned. We get to go over this beautiful bridge along the way. You can get a look to see what the car looks like right there, Nigeria. An optional sightseeing, but this is a guest favorite, doing this helicopter tour over the falls. And the Rovos Rail that I mentioned also, where we're going to include some fine dining here. The atmosphere is just amazing. I mean, just looking at this picture, I think it gives you an idea of, taking this whole steam train through some of these, undiscovered parts yet of Africa. And so we're going to be able to experience this. There's some deluxe suites that are on board as well. And here's a picture of one of those, some of those suites look like also. But again, just thinking like the Orient Express. This is that same look and feel with the beautiful old dark woods that you see here. But just the construction and the architecture that they built back then, and just the time and attention to detail that went into every part of the construction. And then Johannesburg, another option that we have to include here. Just lots to do and explore from Johannesburg as a wonderful jumping off point. This slide is a little bit out of place because we talked about Victoria Falls already, but at least you get to look and see what some of the rooms look like inside. Kruger National Park area is another place that we get to take in some more amazing wildlife. And we see the jaguar here. We see the rhinoceroses coming down to drink from the water here, some of the water buffaloes, some more elephants, and of course, some lion here. So talk about being able to take in all this amazing wildlife that you have to travel to the continent of Africa to be able to take this in. So all these are options for you. 5-star choice, staying at the Tinswalo Safari Lodge or the Makani Game Lodge. 3 nights in a suite that would be included for you. Daily game drives with a window seat. All meals and drinks are going to be included. Complimentary laundry services, free Wi-Fi, indoor and outdoor showers. Guests are going to go on 6 safari games here, and the lodges are in private reserve with premier bush experience with less vehicles. So again, everything that goes into every package that we put together is a lot of thought. We want these to be the most exclusive experiences that you could possibly have with us. So all that has been put into these 7 nights, Tanzania and the Serengeti. Again, here's a look at some of these zebras that we see right here. The next one coming up, if it advances here, here we go. The Tarangire Treetops Lodge. I mean, just being up in here in this like treehouse type experience, up in the canopy of the trees, having this luxury experience, first class experience, taking in the views from around here, watching the wildlife as you kind of walk around here. This should be on everyone's bucket list here. Let's move on here. Spending the day in the Ngorongoro crater, the world's largest volcanic caldera, and hosts animal migration of more than 2 million animals, including the wildebeest, zebra, and gazelle. Early human footprints here date back to more than 3.6 million years ago. So you talk about history, you're definitely going to find that on this trip. Serengeti migration camp also right here that we see here. And then this next slide, I mean, the room is absolutely beautiful. This next slide, this is actually a look at our two of our owners. This is actually Rudy Schreiner and his beautiful wife, Christine Karst. It was years ago that they actually went up here to experience a trip on the Chobe River, and they said, we need to put together a program, keep it, the same style that we would put together in all of our European sailings, obviously including the local culture and history, and that's what they've done with this. This is them actually on the Rwanda extension, where you can actually go and experience these gorillas right here. You can see just how close you can get to them, and I think you even get a little bit of a better view on this very next slide. But hopefully this just, again, to add to this. If you're not able to go next year, even the next year, I hope that you will keep it on your bucket list of those places that you have to experience in your lifetime. And I truly hope that you'll be able to experience that with On the Waterways, enjoying this wonderful dinner. Again, just another look, and we're going to have some really fine wines that we're including along the way as well too. So you're going to have these premium, beers and wines. The bar is going to include all these too. There might be some extra spirits that aren't necessarily included, but let me tell you, they're extremely inexpensive. So if you want those, definitely splurge on some of those and have a few, but some really great wines down from this area as well. Here's a look at the main lounge area, and I would just describe this, if the picture doesn't capture it all. I mean, if we just paused a moment, you could probably just picture yourself right here, but just think relaxing and calming and tranquil. It's that place that I would say is going to help you to immediately get into vacation mode. After that long flight, as you make your way down here, if you're like me, it normally takes like maybe 3 days to really feel like you're into your trip now. This is one of those places that just sitting here and just taking in this calm scenery that you're passing by is really going to help you to get there a lot quicker. The left side is Botswana, and the right side is actually Namibia. So we are actually not allowed to sail on the Botswana side. They look at us very closely. So at all times, we're always up against the right side of Namibia. And then when we turn around, of course, we stay back on that side as well. So we're going to take some tours into Botswana. There's no problem with that, of course. But in terms of licensing and rights and different things like that, we're going to be sailing on the Namibia side the entire time. A few things that we put in place right here also for you, which includes on a number of select dates, the option of up to $1,500 per person per stateroom. And this isn't specific necessarily to this trip. This could be on a number of other departures, on select departures or free air that you get to choose from. An additional $300 onboard credit on select departures. And then actually, if you're to book by, I think I got this date wrong, and I apologize for that, but 2 weeks from today, you just check with Zygmunt, we're going to include an additional $100 per person savings for anybody that books within 2 weeks from today's date of listening to this presentation.
Richard, thanks very much for a very good presentation.
Sure.
Just want to make a note that we do take care of the visas. We'll take care of all the paperwork and we'll pay for the visas for you. Plus, we also add an additional $200 shipboard credit to you for any of those cruises that Richard mentioned. We posted the previous webinars on our website, RiverCruiseCenter.com. So if you missed any of the previous seminars, which include everything from Danube, wine, castles, it's posted at RiverCruiseCenter.com. You can just play them right there live. Well, they were live, now they're recorded. And we also, if you look at the corner of our website, is that we just started Instagram and Twitter. If you can join on there, we'd appreciate it. Now, Richard, thank you very much for it, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the next webinar.